fight's going to happen now. What was your feelings going into that as Usyk comes in?
Thank you.
Did you know how many people I boxed in front of at Wembley Stadium?
Sorry?
I boxed at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people were there?
John Fury just lost his mind at a press conference and nearly started a full-scale brawl with Froch. We're talking about a 60-year-old man who hasn't fought professionally in decades, charging across the stage like he's ready to throw hands with one of Britain's most decorated super middleweight champions. This wasn't some scripted WWE nonsense for the cameras. Fury's eyes were blazing with genuine rage, his fists were clenched, and for a terrifying moment everyone in that room thought they were about to witness an actual assault. Security scrambled, cameras zoomed in, and the entire boxing world held its breath as Big John looked ready to explode. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife, and what happened next exposed everything wrong with modern boxing promotion. Now here's where Froch completely destroys John Fury's entire act with just a few calm, calculated words. While Fury is screaming and making a fool of himself, Froch sits there like a statue, completely unbothered by the chaos erupting around him. He basically tells everyone that John Fury embarrasses himself every time he opens his mouth, creating drama for absolutely no reason other than attention. And you know what's wild? Froch makes it clear that if things actually get physical, he's more than ready to handle business properly. This is a man who knocked out George Groves in front of 80,000 people at Wembley. He's faced killers in the ring and never backed down. Meanwhile, John Fury is throwing tantrums like a toddler who didn't get his way at the grocery store. The contrast couldn't be more obvious to everyone watching. But wait, it gets even better. Eddie Hearn jumps in and absolutely tears apart John Fury's entire approach to this situation. Hearn's seen every type of boxing personality imaginable, from Anthony Joshua to Deontay Wilder, and he knows the difference between genuine intimidation and desperate attention-seeking. He points out that while defending yourself is one thing, storming a press conference like a maniac makes you look completely reckless and out of control. Think about this for a second. John Fury's supposed to be representing his son Tyson, one of the biggest names in heavyweight boxing. Instead, he's creating chaos that distracts from the actual sport and makes the entire Fury camp look unprofessional. Hearn's criticism cuts deep because it's absolutely true. Real fighters don't need to throw chairs and scream threats to prove their point. They let their skills do the talking.
He did nothing. He just made a of himself. Again, don't get me wrong, if it came on top and he came to my face and he tried anything, I'd have to defend myself.
Here's the kicker that exposes just how pathetic John Fury's whole act really is. Froch drops a truth bomb that nobody can argue with. He points out that there's a massive difference between defending yourself like a real fighter and acting like a complete fool in front of cameras. Froch compares John Fury to actual professional fighters who handle real threats with composure and intelligence. Big John hasn't stepped in a ring competitively in decades, yet he's trying to intimidate a former world champion who's actually been in wars with elite-level opponents. It's like watching someone who played high school football try to trash-talk an NFL linebacker. Froch's experience dealing with genuine killers in the ring makes John Fury's charging and shouting look absolutely laughable. Every boxing fan watching this can see through the act immediately.
Running his own YouTube channel and sort of criticising stuff, you know, I think his comments about the Saudi stuff and the atmosphere, I don't really get it. Like, we know that the atmosphere is not as good as it is in the UK or in Phoenix for a big Mexican fight, but it's an emerging market, and
And get this, Johnny Nelson, who knows a thing or two about handling pressure situations, breaks down exactly what John Fury's reckless behavior could cost him. We're not just talking about embarrassment here. Nelson points out that Fury's actions have real consequences, both financially and for his reputation in the boxing world. Think about the lawsuits, the potential bans from future events, the damage to his son's career. Meanwhile, Carl Froch sits there calm and composed, proving that experience and mental toughness beat hot-headed theatrics every single time. Nelson's seen fighters lose everything because they couldn't control their emotions outside the ring. John Fury is walking down that exact same path, and everyone can see it except him. The veteran fighters watching this know that Froch's composure under pressure is what separates real champions from wannabe tough guys.
And Derek Chisora at the press conference, when Chisora came to David Haye, and David Haye put a right hand and a big left hook elbow onto the chin. That's what you've got to do. If somebody's coming to you and coming into your face, you've got to defend yourself. When you've got nowhere else to go, you've got to let the shots go. And if Big John Fury, the fighting man, who's never had a fight in his life, not for the last 20 years anyway, if he comes for me looking for some aggro.
Now listen to this absolute disaster. Big John Fury starts boasting about his authority and acting like he's the center of the boxing universe. He's claiming that nobody can challenge him and that he built the entire story around his son Tyson. But here's the problem with that logic. It comes across as desperate, egotistical posturing rather than genuine authority. Real power doesn't need to announce itself. Real authority doesn't need to scream and demand recognition. Carl Froch has actually achieved something in professional boxing. He's won world titles, headlined massive pay-per-view events, and earned respect through his performances in the ring. John Fury's biggest claim to fame is being Tyson's father and throwing tantrums at press conferences. The boxing community sees right through this theatrical nonsense, and Froch's measured, professional response only highlights how desperate John Fury looks.
And if he does it again and he's over, he's going to get fined again. And I don't know if it's by the pound, by the ounce, what he's getting fined for, but it's an
Hold up, because John Fury's antics cross into pure comedy territory at this point. The man is flailing around like he's auditioning for a reality TV show, not representing one of boxing's biggest names. His ridiculous posturing doesn't intimidate anyone who's actually been in real fights. It's like watching someone try to scare a lion by making loud noises. Meanwhile, Carl Froch remains calm and composed, proving that measured professionalism always wins over chaotic attention-seeking. Froch doesn't need to raise his voice or make threats because his resume speaks for itself. He's been in there with Carl Abraham, Andre Ward, George Groves, and Mikkel Kessler. John Fury's biggest recent victory was against a microphone stand that couldn't fight back.
I just want to tell him that, you know what, you can't knock me, mate. Disrespect me and I'm going to take the job over. I don't care who it is. You disrespect me and I'm taking the job over. And nobody can stop me because I got a right to be there because I'm his father. I'm not some idiot. If it wasn't for me, who built the full story around him, what would there be? I'm a big player.
Here's where Carl Froch delivers a masterclass in handling unstable people. He acknowledges that John Fury's behavior went beyond normal posturing and actually felt threatening, but he does it with complete composure and control. Froch shows the mental strength that made him a world champion by standing firm under pressure while highlighting the recklessness of Fury's loose threats. This moment perfectly demonstrates why Froch was successful in professional boxing and why John Fury never made it past the amateur level. Real fighters don't lose their cool when someone tries to intimidate them. They assess the threat, stay calm, and respond appropriately. Froch's ability to remain professional while John Fury melts down only exposes Fury's complete lack of control and judgment.
Father of the king of the world. I think he's referring to Tyson Fury. You know, when you have kids, you know, most people, when they want to talk about their children, they might pull their mobile phone out and show a few pictures. Big John just shows you his balls. That's where they came from. If there's anyone who needs a Manscaped advert, it's fucking John Fury. Always on about the balls.
Eddie Hearn drops another truth bomb that perfectly captures how out of control John Fury has become. The fact that security needs to physically separate a 60-year-old man from a former world champion shows that Fury cares more about creating drama than having intelligent conversations about boxing. Hearn's seen every type of personality in this sport, from quiet professionals like Anthony Joshua to explosive characters like Tony Bellew, but even the wildest fighters know when to turn it off. John Fury doesn't have that switch. He's stuck in permanent attention-seeking mode, creating chaos wherever he goes. Carl Froch doesn't need theatrics or threats to command respect because he's earned it through years of elite-level competition. His calm, calculated presence proves that experience and professionalism beat reckless aggression every single time. The boxing world can clearly see who's truly composed under pressure and who's just making noise for the cameras.
Quite, if I was a bit of a snowflake, then I'd have been upset, I'd have been offended by it, because it was threatening, he was calling it on, and he was saying basically watch your back, and you don't want to go back to prison. So he needs to be careful, doesn't he? When he's talking about going back to prison. So he's putting loose threats out there.
And here's what really exposes John Fury's desperation. Adaya Ladipo points out that nobody could even tell if Fury intended to actually attack Carl Froch or just make a scene for attention. That uncertainty makes everything worse because it shows Fury doesn't even have a plan. He's just reacting emotionally like a child who didn't get his way. This kind of behavior doesn't inspire fear in anyone who's actually been in real fights. It invites ridicule from the boxing community and embarrassment for his family. Meanwhile, Carl Froch handles the entire situation with dignity and professionalism, showing why he was successful at the highest levels of the sport. Fury's impulsive theatrics might entertain casual fans who don't understand boxing, but true students of the sport can see through the act immediately. Real authority comes from skill and composure, not from screaming threats and charging at people.
You honestly think if these two come together like this, you know what's going to happen?
So what
I'm going to keep them apart by a wall of security.
Frank Warren, one of the most respected promoters in British boxing, perfectly captures what's wrong with this entire situation. The focus should be on the fighters, their skills, their training, and the actual boxing matches that fans pay to see. Instead, John Fury's behavior overshadows everything else and makes the entire sport look unprofessional. Warren's promoted some of the biggest names in boxing history, from Nigel Benn to Joe Kaltzak, and he knows that real champions don't need their fathers fighting their battles in press conferences. Carl Froch represents everything right about professional boxing composure, maturity, and letting your achievements speak for themselves. While Fury's antics might create headlines for a day or two, they do absolutely nothing to enhance his credibility or help his son's career. Warren's criticism carries weight because he's seen what separates lasting success from temporary spectacle.
Being John Fury went straight for him. I'm not quite sure what he was going to do if he got to him, but I guess that was the entertainment from the press conference.
Now get this, John Fury claims he's only demanding respect, but his words and actions come across as completely egotistical and overbearing. Real respect in boxing is earned through performance, dedication, and professionalism. You can't demand it by screaming at press conferences and threatening former world champions. His fixation on making everything about himself actually hurts the boxing discussions that fans want to hear. Carl Froch doesn't need to demand anything because he's already proven himself at the highest level of the sport. While John Fury is busy shouting and demanding recognition for being someone's father, Froch demonstrates that respect comes through skill, composure, and actual achievements in the ring. Fury's tantrums might generate social media buzz for a few hours, but they erode any credibility he might have had. The contrast between Fury's desperate posturing and Froch's quiet confidence couldn't be more obvious to anyone paying attention.
Finger, well, guess what? I ain't standing for it.
And
I want no money. I want nothing. I don't want any fame. I fuck sweet all. What I want is some respect put on the back of my name. That's me dad. He deserves a chair. He deserves a mention. But he's blinded with all this bullshit, ain't he?
Here's where Johnny Nelson, a former world champion himself, drops some serious knowledge about what's really happening here. Nelson points out that John Fury's antics might have completely backfired because Carl Froch is calm, ready, and fully aware of how to respond to any situation. Fury might have stirred up the crowd and generated some buzz, but excitement alone doesn't win respect in the boxing community. Froch's composed, strategic mindset contrasts sharply with Fury's impulsive, emotional reactions. While John Fury thrives on creating spectacle and drama, Froch proves that preparation, skill, and measured responses define a true professional. Nelson's acknowledgement of the chaos Fury created comes with a crucial insight. Froch's controlled strength and mental toughness give him the upper hand in any confrontation. This reinforces what every experienced boxer knows. Class and experience always beat reckless aggression when it really matters.
I'm fine because I'm quite sure Carl's going to rip the life out of John after today. I think John did a job. John did a job and got the excitement going. Got people talking. That's exactly what he did.
But wait, it gets absolutely wild when John Fury actually makes physical contact with someone at the press event. Striking another person at a professional boxing press conference isn't strength or intimidation, it's pure lack of discipline and control. This crosses the line from embarrassing theatrics into potential legal trouble. Carl Froch doesn't need to escalate anything because he commands attention through his composed presence and proven track record in actual fights. Every punch John Fury throws in anger highlights ego over intelligence, while Froch stays calm and thinks strategically about every situation. Boxing fans can clearly see who has the mental edge here, and it's definitely not the man lashing out like an unstable teenager. Froch's ability to maintain composure and professionalism under pressure reinforces why he's respected throughout the boxing world, while John Fury's behavior only brings fines, controversy, and ridicule to his family name.
Actually, so there will be an appeal taking place. So that fine could be reduced or it could be increased. It goes in front of a completely independent appeal.
Adam Smith's analysis perfectly captures the fundamental difference between these two men. John Fury thrives on chaos, loud posturing, and attention-seeking antics, always trying to dominate every room with aggression and theatrical performances. He needs the drama and spectacle because without it, nobody would pay attention to him. Carl Froch operates on a completely different level. He doesn't need to shout or threaten anyone to prove his point because his achievements speak louder than any words ever could. While Fury's behavior might entertain some casual fans and generate clickbait headlines, it exposes a deep lack of discipline and maturity that has no place in professional boxing. Froch demonstrates the rare ability to remain calm under extreme pressure, thinking strategically while others react purely on emotion. Anyone watching this situation unfold can see that Froch represents everything professional about boxing, and every interaction only reinforces that real authority comes from mastery and mental strength, not empty threats and theatrical outbursts.
What I do know is that John Fury and Carl Froch on the cobbles will be fun. I think they both have a good fun doing that, but I'm sure it's all fun and games. They like to say what they...
Spencer Oliver's reaction shows just how chaotic and unpredictable John Fury has become, pointing out that he's charged at multiple people, including absolute legends like Lennox Lewis. Think about that for a second. This man is so out of control that he's willing to confront one of the greatest heavyweight champions in boxing history. This isn't courage or intimidation. It's reckless behavior that could land him in serious legal trouble. Carl Froch doesn't need to resort to such desperate theatrics because he maintains calm, measured control in every situation, letting his skill and proven track record do all the talking. Fury's aggressive outbursts might initially shock people, but they're ultimately predictable and expose his complete lack of composure under pressure. Froch's mental strength is evident in how he doesn't respond to provocation, but instead observes, plans, and controls the entire narrative. Boxing fans watching this closely can clearly distinguish between someone who is genuinely professional and someone who is simply acting out for attention.
To say something that's controversial, and they're two big characters, and we love having them around.
Shane Fury's own words end up exposing the reality behind his father's increasingly erratic behavior. There's a huge difference between talking tough on social media and acting impulsively in person, and that difference reveals deep insecurity and lack of self-control. John Fury's confrontational approach creates temporary spectacle, but it does absolutely nothing to inspire genuine respect from the boxing community or knowledgeable fans. Carl Froch operates on intelligence and mental strength, handling every threat with dignity and unshakable authority. Fury's constant need for theatrical validation only makes him appear desperate for attention, while Froch demonstrates that real power comes from measured responses and unwavering professionalism. Watching this entire situation unfold, it becomes painfully obvious who is truly in control of themselves and their emotions, and who is just making noise to stay relevant. Froch continues proving that composure and experience always triumph over reckless aggression in every professional scenario that matters.
Cobra, mate.
Really?
The Cobra's dangerous. He's still in shape, 48 years of age.
John's standing over there behind you.
You got to go with John Fury. Yeah, no, it kicked off a little bit. But it wasn't only Carl Froch that he went into either, did he? He actually went into Lennox Lewis as well. He started steaming into Lennox Lewis a little bit, and I go, whoa, who wins that one?
So here's the complete breakdown of this absolute mess. The showdown between John Fury and Carl Froch exposed everything wrong with modern boxing promotion and everything right about true professionalism. John Fury threw tantrums, made threats, and grabbed headlines with his chaotic antics, But none of that translates into real respect from boxing fans or industry professionals. Carl Froch stood out as the genuine professional throughout this entire circus. His calm demeanor and measured responses proved that experience and intelligence always outweigh impulsive aggression and desperate attention-seeking. Every single outburst from John Fury only exposed his lack of control and his reliance on ego over substance, while Froch demonstrated time and again that staying composed under pressure and reacting with precision separates real champions from loud spectators. The boxing world saw clearly who commands respect without needing to shout about it, and who relies on theatrics because they have nothing else to offer. Here's my question for you, drop it in the comments. Do you think John Fury's antics help or hurt Tyson's career? And should former champions like Carl Froch even waste their time responding to this kind of behavior? If this breakdown helped you see through all the drama to what's really happening, smash that like button, subscribe for more boxing analysis that cuts through the nonsense, and hit the notification bell because this sport never stops delivering wild moments. I'll see you in the next one.
Seems to be like you can talk about someone online and do videos, but not expect someone to say anything when you see someone. So I don't know. Listen, my dad's got his ways and his points, and 90% of the time he's half right, but